Continuing my Battletech build, we're looking at the next element to this battle group. If you're coming to this vlog from search or maybe a recent post, I've posted up to the Battletech playlist and to the Battletech build playlist here on my channel the various pieces of this battle group that is going to work together. So before we jump into this focus, short-range missile carriers. Yes. I want to do a little bit of a framework. I'm making tanks the focus of this list. I'm going to make them the stars of the show. And we're flipping the script a little bit in that vehicles and tanks are going to be the focus. Mechs are going to look to support and exploit opportunities that the vehicles can create, doing something a little bit different. And the primary focus, the Shrek PPC carrier, 3 PPCs on a turret, taking 2 or 3 or 4 of those, utilizing that as a tactica, not only to push forward to my opponent, but also to take advantage of how they would defeat this list. The ways that they're going to commonly look to defeat this list have a counter for that. And this leads to the short-range missile carrier. Now, if this is the first time that you are encountering this, you flip through the tech manual, and the first time you see an SRM carrier, you're like, there must be a mistake here. There's no way this thing can fire this many short-range missiles. It is lethal. It is going to strip armor like crazy. If there is any possible critical opening on a target, it's going to find it. The challenge, of course, the duality of that, or triplicity, it is a little bit pricey for battle value, even with the battle value reduction. Virtually no armor and extremely, extremely short range. So what this means is you have something that is absolutely a lot of fun to play, very scary, but it's within a very, very narrow band. There's no forgiveness for tactica mistakes as a mech commander. You make a mistake, it's going to go up in smoke. There's the battle value spent. You pull it off, your opponent is going to remember it. So within that list, incorporating multiple short-range missile carriers, how am I going to utilize this? So one of the things here is traditionally you see an SRM carrier as a defensive option. It hides in some buildings, it waits behind something, and it kind of ambushes in that moment. And the reason for that is the short range. I want to bring my opponent close to it. I want to hide somewhere. When they walk out 2 or 3 hexes away, I zoom up and I blast them. So this way they cannot defeat me, or worse, immobilize me or cause motive hits or just blow me up at range. I'm going to get 1 or 2 shots. And not that I want to trade blow for blow in Battletech, but an SRM carrier is going to smoke you pretty fast, even if you're up in the higher tonnage. So within that, here's how it's fitting into the list. I'm taking 2, 3, or 4. One of the builds of this battle group is the tactica remains the same. The units I select may remain the same. But as we add battle value through the battles in the campaign and special events, I can increase the number of vehicles that I'm bringing. So we go from 2 to 3 to 4. Once I go beyond 4, now I get a little light in the other categories that I want to play. And for the synergy of the list, I mean, yes, look, I'd love like 10 of everything, but that's a little bit overboard. So 2 is standard, 3 or 4. We've got these PPC carriers. Let's say we're at the mid-range or the low range, just low battle value game. Do you want to eat 6 shots a turn going at 2 different targets? No, plus the other stuff in my list. You want to take out those PPC carriers. You're going to get as close as possible. So one of the things we explored is, especially if I have 3 or 4, you moving up to get to close range with whatever stuff you have, so you can fire the maximum amount of weapons and do the maximum amount of damage. Maybe get in under my PPCs. Maybe take advantage of the okay armor of the carrier. I mean, yes, I wish it had more, but there's a lot of stuff you got to pack in there. The armor is what it is. So we explored in the Bulldog video of me taking Bulldog battle tanks. I can't destroy you on the way in. I can't. I'm going to try. I'm going to do everything I can. But I can't guarantee it. But what I can guarantee is slowing you down, throwing that speed bump. That's where the Bulldogs are. Now I need the counterattack. Now I need that counter punch. And it's going to be an absolute knockout blow That's where these missile carriers come. They hang back, they wait, they chill out with the carriers, with the PPC carriers, the missile carriers, short-range missile carriers hang out there. When you come close, when you move in to take them out, I slow you down, I counter-punch with that. That is pretty significant. That is a pretty powerful, potent punch that I'm going to look to leverage. It solves multiple problems in my list, multiple exploits. The first is with those short-range missile carriers, I don't have to worry about venturing out, risking going cover to cover, getting into position to fire against you. I just wait for you to come to me. Absolutely. The second thing is, while the missile carriers can do a lot of damage, absolutely, unless it's a light or a medium mech, I don't want to fire at a fresh target. I want to finish you off. I want to hit those crits. I want to explode that ammo. I want to blow off limbs. I want to do the damage transfer and core you out. On your way in with the Bulldog tanks and the PPCs as you get close to engage, and my mechs too, I want to wear you down. I want to wear you down enough that now the short-range missile carriers, they can deliver that killing blow. They can find those exploits. So those two aspects in this list, combined with that is the synergy. That's why I've selected these 2, 3, or 4, again, scaling up SRM carriers. So now things are starting to take shape, but we've got to look at the other mechs in my list in the battle group, how they're going to work. We've got the Marauder, we've got the Warhammer, we've got the Rifleman, we've got the classic Griffin. I've also got LRM carriers because not only do I love playing them, they're going to bring something interesting in and put pressure on the opposite side of the carriers, right? So these PPC carriers being the focus, if you close the distance, the counter is the SRM carriers. If you stay far away and just try to blast me directly, right? Go hold down, get into cover, and blast me with your own PPCs, then I'm going to rain real time hundreds of missiles down on you with indirect fire. So we've got those carriers that we've got to explore. And then if you've been following my Battletech vlogs, you know infantry have to play a part. They do. We're going to have lots and lots of infantry, right? The glory, the tabletop glory of the infantry, they're going to be working in that. Doing things a little bit different in terms of how I'm going to build out the infantry platoons, and the big question to ask, the delivery system. All that is eventually going to come together in a capstone of how this is going to work as a battle group. And then the hobby aspect, I've got to paint, build, and model and get these up. So I'm dropping in the link down there in the info box and underneath this vlog. For the tanks, I'm using Death Ray Design miniatures. And they've got some really, really powerful looking SRM carriers and LRM carriers that scale and fit perfectly. So those are going to just sidebar and centerpiece really nice to their PPC carriers, which I think represent the potency visually, the models on the table. One of the things that I am a fan of the classic models. They're kind of this interesting blend of yes, it's 80s tech and 80s look, but we're going to kind of like make it streamlined for the 90s and make it look kind of futuristic. But I always felt like the PPC carrier was a little bit ho-hum looking. It wasn't as scary looking. The Death Ray designs, they've got some bite to it. Those are 3 PPCs. You see it. It's got some bulk. Visually, I want to complement that on the table with the correct miniatures for the LRM carriers and the SRM carriers. So I dropped those links down there in the info box. Pin it in the comments. You can take a look. Things are shaping up with this list. The build is about halfway through. And then, of course, the big question, which I don't know yet. I've got the miniatures. They're going to be in the list, 100%. But I've got 3 different possibilities for outflank, skirmish attacks, fast moving, and infantry deliver. There is going to be a hover element to my list. I just haven't decided on what to take yet. So that I'm still kind of working out, which is why we'll cover that last and see how that bolts onto the battle group.